in Ravio.com.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Welcome to tonight's edition of Nerdgasm and Hell Hydra. I'm here with my cast today.
That's a Nazi thing, man. I wouldn't say that on national TV.
I don't know, man. Gary Shandling said it. It can't be that bad. So to my left is Peppercorn Montgomery, and to my right is Joe Winchell, who just discovered my batch of toys from last week.
You don't even know what these things are.
No, not really. Is this guy Voltron?
No, that's the Megazord.
Megazord.
Power Rangers.
Really? This is a Power Ranger thing?
Yeah.
But wait, then it's made up of different...
Yeah, watch. Take them apart.
It's made of pieces of Rangers.
So now, did you have this like as a kid? Or?
No, I didn't have this. I did have this as a kid. I didn't have Titanosaurus, which was like the big...
So this is basically just a rip-off of Transformers and Voltron / Destructor.
Everything's a rip-off of everything.
Yep.
So
they're all different.
Tonight is our special Iron Man and Captain America episode. We have a special guest, an extremely special guest. You're not going to believe that we got this guy. We've got Captain America tonight. The guy, not not Chris Evans. That would be boring. But the guy who inspired.
Says you.
The guy who inspired the movie and the comic book. And we're also going
must be really
to
old.
have a special call-in guest, which is, hey, which Heather's in the chat room here? Is that Missy Heather?
I can't tell.
I can't tell. It's Heather. There's so many Heathers.
Lights staring at
And
me.
one day we're probably going to have a Heather's episode. So we
Heather,
have
please
on the
identify
phone
yourself.
right now. We have a special guest,
You broke it, Joe.
Nelly Nells, who will be talking about LICon.
My darling Nelly.
Nelly Nells. So,
Hi guys.
how are you
Hold on,
tonight?
I want to turn
I'm
up my
doing
volume
really
so I can
good.
hear
I'm
your
getting
lovely
ready to
voice.
go out
There
to
you
an
are,
Alice in
darling.
Wonderland themed drag show. What?
What?
Wait, I just heard Wonderland drag show. What's up?
Yes, basically, yes. I'm going to an Alice in Wonderland themed drag show tonight.
And we're missing
Thanks
it
for the phone
this?
call.
You're
I
welcome.
thought we were friends, dude.
Nelly, we invite you to our kinky activities.
I will come
Got you
next time.
So now you were at LICon. I
Yes,
saw
I
your
was.
photographs on Facebook. You have these amazing pictures. You and the other nerd news girl, Heather Envy. Heather Envy is
Yes.
right up there. Who's I don't know what is Heather. She's all decked
All
out.
right, I
in
was
black.
Maleficent,
She's
and
an
she was a
anti-polar
Heartless.
bear.
Her own take on the Heartless
The
from
Heartless.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yep.
Because in the first game, Maleficent controls the Heartless.
Yep.
Wow.
I know that was good. I appreciated that.
Now we got
Yeah,
a picture of
that same
you.
outfit.
You got a picture of you on the second day. What were you wearing that day? The two of
That's
you.
actually my LARP outfit. That's Genesis Tilk Raven you're looking at right there.
Yo, what up,
Gorgeous.
Ma?
I fight people in that.
So now tell us what it was like being at LICon. What were the sights, the sounds? What was the whole experience like?
The experience at LICon was wonderful. The first day, I thought it was really cool. Before the con even started, they had a meet and greet where you could pick up your badges and stuff. And they did bracelets this time. So you could pick up your bracelet and already be ready for the next day. I loved that. I thought that was a really cool feature that I don't think Icon has ever done before. And it worked out really smooth and really well. So we actually stayed at the hotel, so we were able to get up in the morning, get dressed, and go right to the con without stopping at any booths or having to pay or anything like that.
The astronaut doesn't have a
Wow.
head.
All right, well, Nelly, you got to let us know when the next one's coming on, and we're going to have you back in the studio one of these days for a future episode. How's that sound by you?
Definitely.
I
Well,
miss
also
you.
want to tell you guys really quick about the vendors. There were some really cool vendors there, like Lady Ariel and Geektastic Creations. I love
what's
their
that?
stuff. I
That
bought a
sounds
whole bunch
sweet.
of their stuff, and I bought definitely got some jewelry from Lady Ariel. Loved her stuff. The chick at the Goska booth actually told me to tell you hello. I don't remember her name though.
What did they say?
She told me to tell you hello. She knew you. She worked for the Gothica, the Contacts.
No, is it
That's what
me
that-
or Dave or?
Dave.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to
Okay.
worry about anything now.
Okay. By the way, somebody in the chat room seems to be obsessed with your anatomy,
Oh.
making a lot of comments about your bat
chest.
symbols. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, thanks.
Well, join the chat room. You might have another date tonight.
Hey, I'm always looking for a date. I'm single, just to let you guys know.
You really want to date someone who watches this show? I mean, honestly,
that
come on. You can do better.
By the way, these are the toys of last week's co-host, Lovely JoJo, and she's in
They
the
are
chat
lovely
room right
toys.
now. She's in the chat room right now.
The
telling
astronaut's
you to
missing
be
his head,
careful.
but that's okay. I'm not mad about it.
So now
I'm
it's time.
slightly perturbed.
Now it's time for. We have a couple of interesting news items this week. One, there's supposed to be. Richard Donner was asked about an upcoming film, and he responded by saying Goonies 2 is in the works. I've been hearing about Goonies 2 for a very long time. Now the question is, I mean, I've been hearing about it like from a few years after it was out, you know, and I think at this point it's probably. I don't want to see a film that's about the Goonies kids, because that would be awful. I don't want to see these guys growing up. It's going to demystify everything.
Just
To
a
see the
documentary about
kids-
Corey Feldman would be fine.
Honestly, I would prefer that. You know, just to see the kids. How do you guys feel about a premise, a storyline about these kids are
It's
growing
the
up
shadow.
now?
What's the shadow? Matt hates me. I'm making too much
Shadow.
noise right now.
So what do you
That's not why
guys
he hates
feel? What do you guys feel about a Goonies movie where they're grown up and it's about their kids?
I think it's a stupid idea.
No,
I'm going to be honest with you about it. Why? The first movie. That movie.
I feel like there was a
that
movie
first movie
done
doesn't
like
need to
this, where it was
Like,
Maybe it was that old Leave It to Beaver series they remade. It was about the Beaver's kids.
Oh yeah, that's.
I don't know. The whole premise sounds terrible.
It sounds like it's depressing.
I just don't think that movie needs a sequel.
Unless Sloth got like plastic surgery and I was like married to a supermodel.
It's like an educated.
Yeah.
Kind of like how the monster ends up in Young Frankenstein.
Yes, exactly. Although that's been done before, but not in color. Or if they become pirates.
But the thing is, I think I got distracted by the chat room. The thing is, when you have these characters who are kids and they are grown up, and you're looking at their kids, they're just like the Leave It to Beaver episode that you're talking about, and it's about their kids. There's something just wrong about it. It's like it seems to take away what you loved about it. You wanted to see these characters back then.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the Goonies growing up. And then about their.
But it would be a worst option if they did like a sequel where it's the same characters but all different actors.
Yeah, I mean that's what you run into. It's like, what are they going to do with this?
And you always run into trouble with stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it couldn't work. I think it could. I don't know how this works. I think it could work if they do it the right way, but they won't. So I don't know why I'm even bringing it up.
The other news story that's coming in today was that advanced reviews from Europe are coming in from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, they look so good.
But the thing is, like one of the things that I've been concerned about or wondering about is because with Spider-Man 3, and I like Spider-Man 3 more than a number of people do, is that you have.
I'm sure you do. I'm sorry, I hate that movie so much. That movie sucks.
So, okay, well, when we have our Spider-Man episode, we're going to weigh in on everything. But there's a lot of things about that. There's a lot of things about that film that I enjoyed, and a lot of things I didn't as well. But the thing is that when you look at the trailers,
there were some nice costumes.
Sandman was
wonderful.
But you have you have Rhino, you have Electro, and you have Green Goblin all in the same film. They
haven't confirmed that it's Green Goblin yet.
Yeah, it is. It's confirmed now. So you have all of these villains in the same film, and they all, just like with the third Spider-Man film, you had the Green Goblin 2.0, you had Venom, and you had Sandman.
You mean Green Goblin 2.0?
Goblin Jr.
James Franco.
Oh, yeah, that was supposed to be Hobgoblin, but yeah, I see. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So you have the same kind of dynamic. After a successful and fairly successful movie with Amazing Spider-Man, where you had one central villain like you did with Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock, why go back to surplus of villains? So the reviews at the moment have been very, very mixed. You have people embracing it fully, and you got people saying that this film was a mess, and there's too much plot and too much stuffed into it. So it's going to be interesting. I have the feeling, as someone who doesn't mind Spider-Man 2's complete excess of villains, I don't have much problem with it, but I have the feeling it's going to suffer. It's almost like too much of a good thing, in a way. And you wind up lacking, any...
Well, I mean, it all matters how they sort of tie this story together.
Very true.
I mean, there's certainly enough stories where there's been
too many villains.
Heroes fighting teams of villains.
Yeah.
It just matters, it's the problem with Spider-Man 3 is that, none of it just seems like everything was just thrown in.
Yeah, there was no care for the character.
Yeah.
Or, it just...
Venom's just thrown in at the end for crowd appeasement.
We're getting to our Spider-Man episode in 2 weeks, so we want to jump the gun too much.
Oh, you brought it up.
Well, when we go into talk about Spider-Man 3, then.
Remember at Nerdgasm, we don't discuss what Dave talks about.
But I think there's a point to be made where, and I'm not going to delve into Spider-Man 3, but how does this thing work? I'm not going to delve into Spider-Man 3, but what Spider-Man 3 suffered from was, one, it was just a horrible script.
It was so rushed.
It was so bad. It felt rushed. Rushed. I'd rather see a movie that it seems like they took enough time with.
If they spend enough time with the script, that's to be determined. But Joe, I do have to tell you something.
What's that?
It's very personal to me.
Okay.
On April 12th, the Psychedelic Furs will be appearing at 8 p.m. at Paramount in Huntington, New York.
That's my girlfriend's favorite band.
That's Paramount.com. So make sure that your girlfriend goes, and then anybody who's watching
or
boyfriends. Once again, that's April 12th. The Psychedelic Furs will be playing at the Paramount in Huntington at 8 p.m. That was not scripted.
No, not at all.
But there's a contest, I'm told.
Is there?
That you have to
kind
enter.
Of contest,
you can enter and win. I think that's at the on Radio.com on the contest app.
This is going well.
You can win tickets to the psychedelic first.
Wait,
amongst other things.
Can we be in that contest since we technically work here?
Probably not eligible.
I mean, I don't really work, but I'm here. I'm part of things.
Right. So now is the part of the show that we're going into our Iron Man segment.
That's all the news?
No, that's only, well, the thing is we had our Nerd News Girl, so it's coming up later in the show.
All the news fit to report.
That's right.
Okay.
So now Iron Man, this is Iron Man and Captain America episode. They seem to be related in a lot of ways. You have a lot of crossover characters. So my feeling is that the Iron Man trilogy, and obviously it's going to go beyond the three.
I don't think so, actually, funny enough. I don't think he signed on for another standalone Iron Man film.
So we might have a reboot then, sort of like what they did with Spider-Man?
First, I hope not.
Well, you know what's going to
No, I think you'll see Iron Man in the Avengers 2.
Yeah, but I'm saying a standalone. I don't think he's signed on to do another standalone Iron Man.
That might change, though. You know,
That might change, okay, but as of
Who
right
knows?
now, I don't think there's one coming up.
Although, Christian Bale, like, they couldn't bring him back for the Batman and Superman movie, so if he's saying no to a
okay with
huge
that.
paycheck, then, I guess Robert Downey Jr. can say no as well. I mean, these guys
He
have
is
now
Robert Downey
have
Jr.
enough money to do whatever the hell they want for the rest of their lives. So
that must be awful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do with
I'm
myself.
glad I'm broke all the time, man. It really gets me, in touch with my inner self.
I think that the Iron Man trilogy, to me,
I
is
haven't looked up once. How's everybody doing today?
is my second favorite.
Iron Man 1?
No, the Iron Man trilogy is my
Okay.
second favorite trilogy of modern comic book movies, like the comic book movies that came
I
out
think it's the
in
only
last.
trilogy. Oh, no. I'm
You know,
sorry,
Dark Knight,
Spider-Man
Dark Knight Rises. So let's just say, rather than trilogy, it's my favorite, series. I think that between the casting of Robert Downey Jr. and the wit and the style, the filmmaking, I find it. I think it brings fun back to the comic book genre. And a lot of these, I think it's the most successful, upbeat series of movies, based on a comic book that I've seen. And I think that regardless of the flack that later installments have gotten, that I enjoy the hell out of it. And I think that I'm smiling from the opening to the end of these films. And there's very few movies that can kind of do that for me on that level. And Robert Downey Jr. is as strong of an anchor to these films as any actor has been in these. And it shows you how important it is to have. What are you saying in the control room? I just keep hearing talking. Oh, okay. Yeah, just keep having that conversation. It's not making my job hard enough. So.
Show's going so well, they've decided to read out loud to each other. Dave's talking. Here's an interesting article.
So now, guys,
Cesspool care and you.
Let's go. I mean, this was the first installment of the series, and I think it has a real consistency to it because when you look at Spider-Man, you look at X-Men, you wind up having some blips in the series that aren't as strong. But I feel like this has been a very consistent series, and Jon Favreau. I was not expecting that he would rise to this kind of director, and he exceeded my expectations as a storyteller. To be able, to take this stuff on, and not make it ridiculous. Because let's be honest, most comic book movies have a foundation on something that's hard to buy, and they breathe just enough humanity into these things that it becomes, something that you could follow and believe.
I think most
really
comic books are actually based in reality. Especially Marvel characters.
Yeah.
But the movies have accentuated a lot of.
Oh no!
Have accentuated the wrong points.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, we could bring up a
definitely
long
agree with
list of the ones that didn't work and why, and this is clearly one that worked, and why.
Oh, DP Pie, What Was Wrong, Swingers? Nothing. That was not directed by Jon Favreau. I meant Jon Favreau as a
only wrote it.
director.
He wrote Swingers.
He wrote and he was in it, and I love Swingers.
Did he direct Maid?
He did direct Maid.
Yeah. Maid
Right.
was-
And Elf.
Yeah.
Elf?
did Elf.
He did direct Elf. I loved Elf.
Zathura and all that. So, Joe, what is your take on the first Iron Man film
I
that came
loved
out?
it. I have nothing. I don't have a bad word to say about those movies because, particularly the first one, because, I mean, you watch that movie, and as a fan of the comic book, and I've read many of Iron Man comic books, you hit a home run with me if you have your lead character that just seems like he jumped off the page. And Robert Downey Jr., I've always said, one of the smartest casting that Marvel ever did, and there's a few, but the first smartest casting they did was to cast Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark because he embodies that character. That character, to my opinion, jumps off the page. So I can't. It's like, all right, when I read a Batman comic, the voices I hear in my head when I read the Joker and Batman are Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. Now when I read an Iron Man comic book, the voice I hear in my head when I'm reading Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr.
Could you imagine anybody else playing this successfully from this point on?
No, not off the top of my head. I'm sure there's somebody else out there that could do it. Could they do it as good as Robert Downey Jr.? I don't know. I come from the world as everybody deserves a chance. If they can do it, give them a shot. See if they can do it. If they can't do it, then they tried. But as of right now, I don't think that anybody else could. He's established himself in that character after 4 movies.
It would be really tough to step into those shoes.
Oh, he's yeah.
Do you know what I noticed about the whole series of Iron Man in general? Can we throw on some Iron Man graphics in the background?
Did you draw these?
Yes, I used a bird and a stone canvas. Birds BXL. The Iron Man, all of these movies that we're talking about tonight, pretty much with one exception, my friend pointed this out, was the central figure, the central hero battling an evil version of himself. Pretty much all of them, possibly with the exception of Iron Man 3, because that seems to be the way they go in the Marvel movies, or at least in this particular series of Marvel.
Well, that's actually the story in comics going back to the beginning. I mean,
Their doppelganger.
yeah, it's always the flip side of the coin. I mean, there's the Batman to Joker, Superman to Lex Luthor. The Red Skull to Captain America, Iron Man.
Which is literally the epitome of anti-Captain America, because he took the same serum and became a Nazi as opposed to being
Winter Soldier, same deal. You know?
less with Winter Soldier.
But still in that same vein.
Yeah, in that same
He's still
vein.
a super soldier. This one went back.
Exactly. Yeah.
At the end of Iron Man 1, you got Iron Man battling Big Iron Man.
It's the Ironmonger.
Well, okay. You're getting very specific, but the point remains the same.
Nobody likes specificity, Joe.
Why would they?
And then, such nerds. And at the end of the second film, you've got...
I'm sorry, what's the name of the show?
At the end of the second movie, you got, Mickey Rourke, like more, so... But I think that Joker versus Batman isn't really... They're not... It's not somebody wearing a bat suit.
Careful, Dave.
They are the exact opposite.
Look who you're talking to.
That's the way that they were written.
It would be the equivalent of somebody like an evil guy in a bat suit. I mean, like there's not the visual is so different. And
that's the point, though.
But it's more. It's not the visual. It's not a straight up visual.
It's the writing.
It's the character. Who he is.
Order versus chaos. Batman order. But I think that you literally have just a visual mirror or anatomy of the characters in this, and it's something it would almost be. It would almost be. You'd almost be breaking new ground if they had a villain like the Joker, because which we haven't had yet in these films. But then again, the well from which Iron Man comes from, is probably a little bit more limited.
Sort of. I mean, he's got his greatest villain is the Mandarin, and they put him in Iron Man 3, played by Guy Pearce. So.
Where do you guys play? Where do you guys place the Iron Man series? Where do you place the first one amongst them?
What do you mean?
Like in terms of Iron Man 1 is my favorite.
I think I like them all equally. I have to be honest about this one. I rewatched all 3 of them. I watched the 3rd one last night, and it's just I can't say like, oh, one's better. I'm actually in the minority of I really like the second one too.
Yeah.
And
with you on that.
I think they just build a story of the character. It just one's better than the other. It just gets character-wise. It just keeps getting better and better for me to see what the journey of this character is, especially the 3rd one, because they kind of tore everything down for the character and made it a great character piece. So, I think they're all great. I think it's almost one movie.
Now, Peppercorn, do you find yourself in the same boat? Do you find?
Well, I love. I think Iron Man 1 is fantastic, and I loved Iron Man 3. Iron Man 2, I didn't have any particular problems with. It's a little less than the other 2, but I think, I don't know, it felt like it was a little rushed into production, and so. But all the key elements are there that even in this particular case, when a project was rushed, sort of, it still works because all the elements are there, as opposed to like a Spider-Man 3, which I know we're not talking about until next week, or in 2 weeks. It didn't work. It clearly didn't work because they didn't pull in the right elements.
Well, I felt even with Iron Man 2, there was care for the character.
Okay, we're going to get to Iron Man 2 and 3.
And that, I think I give a lot of credit to Jon Favreau.
Yeah, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to go into Iron Man 2 and 3 when we get back, and we got some more surprises lined up for you, so stay tuned.
Jojo, where's the Mastodon's head?
Yeah, you gotta
It's
answer that,
incomplete.
Jeff, now. Did we break it? Did we lose it?
No, it's not in here.
This is why they went extinct.
We're gonna head out to a commercial break. Come on back, everyone. We got a lot more show in store for you.
Not really.
In Ravio.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Campfield, host of Nerdgasm.
I'm Joe Winchell. Nobody likes me.
And I'm Peppercorn Montgomery.
Tune in every Wednesday night, only on Ravio.com, to hear the greatest nerd discussion of all time. It is Nerdgasmic.
It'll be the best nerdgasm you've ever had.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Girls, 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 all have something to say. Some say their emotions get in the way. Some like them big, some like them skinny. Oh, girls, please come this way. We must unite, this is the place. You don't have to show your face. Girls, I'll be a lady of today. So say what you
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
Peppercorn Montgomery, I believe there was something that you wanted to tell me.
Oh, I can speak now. Was it April? Are we doing this thing, or was it something else? Oh, April 12th, the Psychedelic Furs are performing at 8 p.m. at Paramount, Huntington, New York. Check it out at ParamountNewYork.com. You can also go on to InRavio.com and follow the contest tab and join the contest to see if you could win some free tickets. I assume it's free tickets. It doesn't say on here. But yes, free tickets, I'm being told in the headset. You can't hear that. Doesn't matter. Anyway, yes, so the Psychedelic Furs, I hear they're a band. Or perhaps it's just a show about coats. 8 p.m., Paramount, Huntington, New York on April 12th. Check them out.
Check it out.
That's right.
Let's take that again. I can do a better take.
Well, we're live. We can't do a second.
Amateurs like
Excellent.
you do 2 takes.
So now we have a very, very special nerd news girl this week that's going to tell us about all things Iron Man. This is the lovely JoJo. If you go into the archives, you're going to see her as my co-host on last week's program. So without further ado, let's throw on this week's nerd news.
Megatron.
I'm the lovely JoJo, and today we're going to talk about a few fun facts from Iron Man.
guys not give me a kiss now, all right?
Oh, I got Campfield cooties on me now. Stan Lee, the creator of Iron Man, had originally based Tony Stark on Howard Hughes, whom he felt was one of the most colorful men of our time. An inventor, an adventurer, a multimillionaire, a ladies' man, and finally, a nutcase. Robert Downey Jr. further described a portrayal of Stark as a challenge of making a wealthy, establishmentarian, weapons manufacturing, hard-drinking, womanizing prick into a character who is likable and a hero. A lot of Whiplash's identifying features were suggested by Mickey Rourke himself. He wanted to perform half of his role in Russian and consulted about the character's tattoos, gold teeth, as well as having a pet cockatoo. In fact, Rourke paid to have the bird and gold teeth out of his own pocket. The film was heavily edited for Chinese audiences. The Chinese edit was... The film was heavily edited for Chinese audiences. The Chinese edit had additional scenes featuring the character Dr. Wu and his assistant, played by Chinese stars X Wang and Bing Bing Fan, respectively.
I'm not sure if that's exactly how they're pronounced, but close enough.
Bing Bing Fan.
X-U-E-Q-U-I.
And that's this week's Nerdgasm trivia.
Like that, but less self-conscious and awkward.
I'm going to stab you in the eye. And that's this week's Nerdgasm trivia.
Awesome.
You're such a
And she wants the Iron Man poster.
It's all mine, my precious. My precious.
Welcome back, and now begins our discussion of Iron Man. Where are we going? Hey, I just felt a wave splash over my head. So now, thus
Our
begins
own
a
network
discussion
is turning us
of-
off.
They're sabotaging us. A discussion of Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. My feeling on Iron Man 2 is it's probably the most underrated superhero film that I've seen, because a lot of people give this film flack. And there's a lot of things about it I think are just terrific. I think it's very witty. It's a stuffed plot, right? Okay, no doubt that maybe there's a few too many story elements. They're trying to set up the Avengers movie, so maybe that feels a little forced in there in some way or another. But in terms of just entertainment value, character, plot structure, I had a great time with this film. I think that Mickey Rourke and Sam Rockwell have just like such wonderful scenes together. And they gave such unique villains. You know, maybe you could say that Rourke is slightly underwritten or whatever, but I think that this film gets flack in ways, and I'm not sure why. It's smart, it's clever, it's fast-moving, it's well-acted. And even though it's my third favorite of the series, I still think it's great. I think that this has been a very consistent series in terms of just entertainment value and delivering what it's promising. You want a comic book movie, you know what, I feel like this lives up to the hype. And actually, it takes place without the supernatural. The character's not Superman. It's got, Downey Jr. is...
Wait, what?
There's not supernatural. It's not Superman.
Well, Superman's not supernatural.
Okay.
He's extraterrestrial.
Okay.
No,
fine.
go ahead.
Fine.
I'm just being
He's
curious
not,
over here.
Like
it's
E.T.
not supernatural a la Doctor Strange or extraterrestrial like Superman.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay, now that we got the semantics cleared out of the way.
Semantics? I'm always up for semantics.
What?
Da-da-da-da-da. Hey!
So, people
I'm done.
in the chat room, do you have any objections to Iron Man 2? But as you're writing that,
Just to interrupt, because
Who loves Iron Man 2? Who hates Iron Man 2?
I say honestly the most underrated of all the Marvel movies in the event in this.
And the series of with the
It's
within
the
Avengers
first
universe?
Captain America.
Yes, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, a lot of people do put down Iron Man 2, like, oh, it wasn't good. And that was one of the reasons they didn't supposedly bring back Jon Favreau to direct the third one.
I
But
didn't think he did that bad of a job.
I
I don't think the movie's as bad as other people made it out to be.
don't think it's bad at all. I think it's very entertaining. It's a lot of fun. I don't think it has...
This missing a little bit something from it.
Yeah, it's...
But not enough for me to be like, oh, it's a piece of garbage.
It's just, I mean, the first storyline was
Mickey Rourke, bad guy, it's great. It's Whiplash, that's awesome.
Yeah, the first storyline was like a little cleaner. It wasn't quite as convoluted, and that's it.
Yeah, they tried to stuff a lot in, but
and again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were trying to set up the Avengers, so you had to force some pieces in there. This is probably my favorite appearance of Sam Jackson as Nick Fury in any of the films because I think he's having the most fun with it. And at first I didn't really have any opinion of Sam Jackson on as Nick Fury, but when you look at him in this film, it is a good choice, even if it's a little ironic.
They wrote when they did the fun fact that when they did Ultimate Avengers, which was like was one of the incarnations of the Avengers they completely reworked the character of Nick Fury, and they based the character entirely on Samuel L. Jackson.
Not David Hasselhoff?
No.
I can't get what I want ever.
What a wonderful movie that was.
We have an interesting comment from the chat room from Lockdown. Iron Man's 2 plot point on him getting poisoned by the arc reactor never made sense to me. He could use the other power sources. He originally had it powered by a car battery. Why not swap it out for a less poisonous power source? This is a good point. One that I hadn't necessarily thought that deeply on. Do you notice that these second installments of like, say, Spider-Man 2, Iron Man 2 deal with this struggle of identity? Who am I? Why am I doing this? And I feel like Iron Man was having this struggle with himself in this one. Just as, it was Spider-Man.
Probably a little bit less because he didn't hide his identity, but it was there, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
he's the only one.
Well, I think it's the story-wise, it's the natural progression. The first one, of course, is the origin story where you get all the backstory and stuff, and then the second one is the now that I've become this and accepted this, and then what does it mean to my life?
Who am I really?
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of a thread that we're probably going to see in future, like second installments of all these series. You have to wonder if Amazing Spider-Man 2 is even going to delve into that in some way or another. So
how will they have
I have to be honest though, he seems pretty set in being Spider-Man from that trailer.
Yes.
It opens with, what I love about being Spider-Man? Everything. I think Peter Parker is like, I'm very
Which
set.
is a huge twist from the other Spider-Man 2. Where it's just like,
he struggled with being Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then when he loses his powers, they do the whole montage where how happy he is and he can finally live his life and everything like that.
But raindrops keep falling on my head. Right. Actually, that was great. That was such an example of Raimi for you, in that whole montage. Now, how good is the casting? I mean, I think even the casting in even these little roles seems to really work. I mean, Gary Shandling. And by the way, I gotta really give kudos to Sony, Marvel, all of this for having such a consistency in, from one movie to the next. Yeah, Gary Shandling in this movie is a senator who comes back in Captain America 2. Like even a little role like that.
He is. He's in Iron Man 2. I completely forgot about that. Good point, Dave.
So they're giving a lot of attention, a lot of love, to a series. When in the past, they hadn't necessarily thought so deeply and put so much attention to it. I think that a bad superhero movie is a good movie by another standard. So what do you think? I mean, how great was Sam Rockwell?
I love Sam Rockwell in it.
He
was good. No,
I haven't seen the film. Iron Man 2. Yes, no. It was great casting. I mean, he's phenomenal. And plus, if you want to put up someone with the additional gift of gab to offset Robert Downey Jr., Sam Rockwell's just a perfect choice.
And Sam Rockwell was up for Iron Man. He was
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
And if you guys watch the bonus special feature on Thor, Thor: The Dark World, you can see a return to, Sam Rockwell's return at the very end of it. He's got a really wonderful cameo at the end of it.
I know, I saw it. It was really cool.
They managed to, every time out, they seem to...
I just enjoy watching Sam Rockwell, too.
Yeah.
It's always interesting performance. He's always,
Yeah, I mean, just pick up 7 Psychopaths you want to enjoy.
Oh, yeah. He's very good. He's very good in that.
And we could go on and on.
But he clearly will never top what he did in Charlie's Angels. So now...
Yes, indeed.
Iron Man...
It was a bold choice. This one pointing out, it was a bold choice to make Justin Hammer younger, made him a better counterpoint, because he is actually older in the comic books.
Yes.
He is, and they made him much, they made him, I think, younger than Tony, too, within the world.
Well, yeah, he seems a little younger, but I don't know if they really made it a point that he was younger in the movie.
Well, he's a much older character in the comic books, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How much do you guys like? You guys know this a lot better than I do. How true to the comic books are the whole Iron Man trilogy to what was on the page?
Well, I mean, all the characters and stuff and all the conflicts. I mean, they basically took their own spin on it. I mean, which you have to do, but it's pretty true. I mean, the soul of it, the character and the villains and stuff like that, is pretty darn close to the actual comic books. I mean, it's not stories directly taken from the comic books. I mean, some of the moments, especially the origin.
It's kind of grabbed, it's borrowed,
Yeah.
it's a bunch of different things, but
Yeah, I mean, they make it work.
They borrow from Demon in a Bottle a little bit, just a little bit. So.
You talking about Demon in the Bottle for the second one, the third one?
Second one, only the second one. They borrowed that segment. That was actually ripped from the page. It's a segment where he's in the Iron Man suit at the party.
Right.
He's all drunk. That's from Demon in a Bottle. The whole segment was ripped right from where he's shooting the plates, and then he has to fight with War Machine.
Do you know what these two series have in common? The Captain America and the Iron Man.
They're both
series?
Marvel characters.
That's a good point, but that's not the one I was going to get at.
They both
Is
made a
that
ton
when
of
you
money.
think of Superman, you think of the Dark Knight trilogy, you think a lot of the Superman heroes, you think of a consistent musical theme, dun, 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 with Superman, and even Spider-Man, the original three, have their own musical theme. None of Captain America nor Iron Man has any consistent musical theme that I'm aware of, because each film had a different composer, which is kind of an odd thing, and you wind up having, in the case of Iron Man. It's almost like you don't realize it, but he has no theme. There's no Iron Man theme really. That plays throughout the series of movies. Well, you could say that he uses AC/DC, but in terms of
That's my Iron Man theme. It's
I mean,
and they kind of
when he shows up in
established that within the
Avengers,
first-
yeah.
and then even when an Iron Man flies in, you hear AC/DC kick in.
Yeah.
And I think they use it in every movie that he's in to some extent.
Right.
And it made so much sense to do it because he flies in and is AC/DC. So that to me is like the Iron Man theme, as opposed to something. I mean, to me the definitive theme was who's the guy that did, for the Avengers, Alan Silvestri, I think his name is. Did this amazing theme for the Avengers.
The Avengers, so you think that summarizes all of them pretty much? Though.
It summarizes all of them. Have you heard it?
Of course.
It's amazing.
That is a
I play
theme.
it when I'm bored.
That's a theme.
If my friend James and Lou are in the chat room, you know about the Avengers.
Yeah, that's a theme that does resonate. But I'm just saying that in the other two series, you don't have a really dominant theme other than AC/DC. I hadn't thought of that necessarily because it's so different, it's so outside the box to do it that way. Now with Iron Man 3,
look, see AC/DC in the chat room. AC/DC. Everybody's like, "What's Iron Man 3?"
Yeah, okay, so we'll say, but it's not written for the character. I mean, you can say it's the AC/DC theme now. Now, Iron Man 3 is another subject of controversy. I know that there's some people who don't think much of it, like
Iron Man 3,
Lovely JoJo and others, but I see
I love Iron Man 3.
I love the fact that they got the director of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang,
Shane Black,
who brings this kind of lethal weapon magic to some of the scenes as well, and some of what he did so well in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. You have this amazing narration by Robert Downey Jr. throughout the movie that he brings into this one. There's that flavor that I was familiar with from Shane Black. All the best stuff of Shane Black.
It kind of reminded me of Les Boy Scout a little bit.
Yeah,
because they had that voiceover in Les Boy Scout.
And even though we go a little more fantastical, with this movie.
Well, the beauty of Iron Man 3 is that it's dumbed down. And I don't mean dumbed down as in it's dumbed down for the audience. I mean, we get to see the character of Tony Stark for the first time. He doesn't spend a lot of time in the suit in the movie. Even the big final climax, which is amazing because he's got 40 suits flying in. Which is awesome. I don't care if you haven't seen it. Go see it. It's on DVD. I don't care. 40 suits are flying in. They got to see the Hulkbuster, you get to see all these suits that I read in the comic books and see them. It was a really cool moment. And he doesn't spend a whole lot. I mean, he jumps in and out of suits. The way they did it was really good. And you had this great character arc where you basically took away his money and everything that he had for a good half an hour in the film, and he was kind of left to his own devices. And I like how they were like, this guy's a genius. At one point, he kind of MacGyver's and it's really cool, you know what I mean? And I think it took the character on a journey because you have to do, and I thought it dealt with the aftermath of the Avengers for that character really well. Right. He was having panic attacks about it, and it was really, it just made sense for the character is what it comes down to. I just watched it the other night.
Cutikin says that wasn't the Hulkbuster.
No, they called it Igor. It looked like a Hulkbuster, but
Close enough.
you know. Thank you.
Splitting hairs.
Did you think, Peppercorn? Did you think that this film was any?
It looked like a Hulkbuster
in quality. You know, the
Hulkbuster being the Avengers
others,
too.
You know, installments. What did you feel about the film as a whole?
I really liked this movie. I got into it. I got into it early from the top of it. I just felt it was just, it was more about Tony Stark up against it than so much the Iron Man persona.
Yeah.
They're one and the same. I mean, he is Iron Man. He told us at the end of the first one.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I just love, and the point you were making before, I think it's a little more fantastical in the sense that it's a little bit easier to believe that a guy could make a suit that, can fly and all these things than it is, the Extremis program that people
that's
turn into
something that a lot of people bring up. They're like, oh, the Extremis program, which is,
But I didn't have a problem with it. I'm just saying it's a little,
the human bomb element.
They're sort of slowly working their way into the more fantastical.
But they kind of do it, and they did it
marvelous.
in a way that they were trying to sell to the audience, where it seemed like they tried to explain it with science. And for my money, like, as long as you try to explain something to me,
it's solid comic book science.
Exactly.
But
I
it's
read
comic
comics.
book science,
I understand. If you try to explain it to me, I'll buy it. Just explain it.
But
you know what I mean?
There was an intrigue to the film that I thought was very strong. Like him going into the town and trying to uncover the mystery, I thought that was very well done. And I think that it does keep you compelled, to the audience, as an audience member. But there's another parallel, just as like with Iron Man 2, I was saying that there was a little bit of that parallel to Spider-Man 2, and I would say that there's a parallel between Iron Man 3 and Dark Knight Rises, down and out. He's got to build himself up.
Spider-Man 3.
No, just because there's gonna these superhero movies tend to repeat a lot of the same beats. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
But from one to the other, you could feel like some of the same notes being played. Yeah.
I guess so, to a certain extent, except I didn't hate Iron Man 3, and I did hate Dark Knight Rises.
I did hate Dark Knight Rises as well.
Actually, the big twist, I guess Iron Man 3's been out enough, I'm not going to spoil too much for too many people. The twist in it, when you discover who the Mandarin really is, and that whole thing.
That's a lot of people's issue with it.
Yeah, a lot of people have issues with that, but
that's one of my favorite parts of it.
Yeah, that didn't bother me, and that one actually did catch me a little bit off.
It did too. Me too. When I saw,
as opposed to in Dark Knight Rises, the Talia al Ghul thing.
I saw that
just
a mile away.
Yeah, I saw that from the trailers. Yeah. I was like, it's Talia al Ghul.
But I gotta
and I didn't care at the end. But
who would?
But I gotta say that with Ben Kingsley's performance, I was not sold on it until the reveal, and then with the reveal, I'm like, I buy this completely.
Yeah, it's different for me. I was sold on the performance. Going in this movie, I was like, the Mandarin. I'm like, they're finally doing it. And people's argument to me is that great, and he looked like the character, and they really sold it from the trailer. So going to this movie as an audience goer, you're like, I'm going to see this. When they did this, you saw mainly in videos, and I said, what an intriguing way to do this. Eventually, they're going to meet face to face. It's going to be really cool. And when they did it, and you realize that he was this actor hired, everybody's argument is, well, the Mandarin's not even in it. And I said, that's not true, because Guy Pearce admits, I am the Mandarin. He's got the tattoos. He shoots fire.
He organized the whole thing. He's the mastermind.
A lot of people's argument, I didn't like it because of that.
I got a question for you, Joe. When it comes to Batman, you don't like it when they reinvent things, but with Iron Man, you seem okay about it. What is the difference
I never said I don't like it when they reinvent things with Batman.
It seems like a lot of your objections to when they do something differently in Batman.
Like what?
Like a lot of your argument with Batman Returns. Or is it just because you think they're breaking too far from the foundation?
No, Batman Returns, I'm not going on a diatribe. My problem with Batman Returns is that's not my Batman. That's not the character to me.
This diatribe is brought to you by...
That's just deviating. That's just Tim Burton deviate because he wants to do whatever he wants to do. He has that's not the character.
So they're staying true to the
problem is you don't like Tim Burton, so his decisions are wrong.
No, I just don't think Batman should gleefully kill people.
So you think that this stays...
Everyone should gleefully kill people. We need to trim the herd.
This stays true to the soul. So long as they stay true to the soul...
Let's completely change the topic.
This movie is very true to the character. I've often said you have to approach these movies like a one-shot comic book. Somebody's like, if you look at it like an Elseworlds comic book or something like that, and you go with that one state.
Idris Elba was a black Norse god, pointing out, getting slightly away from.
It's a good point, though.
Yes.
So one last
fantastic in the film. Have no problem with the casting.
The Mandarin was in the movie. It seemed like the character. It seemed like this intelligent. Because it seemed like the character to me. Yes, Ben Kingsley looked a little bit more like the character from the comic books, but
right.
It's still, to me, Guy Pearce, when he had the big reveal was that, and the fact that he was the Mandarin the whole time.
One of the major things is, to make the point here, I love comic book movies. I'm sure they're going to be making more. What do you call it? There are certain things in the comic books that you cannot directly translate to movies. It would be almost impossible, and it could only come off campy.
Yeah.
The character of the Mandarin, traditionally in the comic books, is really hard to pull off.
Yeah.
I mean, this ancient Asian lord with magic rings and all this other stuff, and then fighting Iron Man, it would be really difficult to pull that off.
Yeah.
What they did
it would like putting Fing Fang Foom into the comic book. Like,
exactly.
Nobody's going to buy that, you know what I mean? So you have to adapt, and you have to rewrite, and you have to shape the character.
The problem with Batman Returns, they totally misplay the character of Batman. Batman is 100 adamantly against killing and everything else like that. And then the fact that he kills someone and then smirks after it because Michael Keaton wanted to lighten up the character, and that was one of his choices. Yeah. That's a no-no, because that's totally against the tradition of the character. As in this, it's very different than the comic book story, but they keep the soul and the idea of the character.
I argue the fact that Batman and his villains is more easily translated to film than a lot of the Marvel characters. Because they're so grounded in reality. They don't, Batman villains don't lift up buildings. Exactly.
And it's easier to bring the Joker as just a psychotic guy in clown makeup.
So is Two-Face, and even you got Bane, where when you break it really down.
He's just
as much as I don't like The Dark Knight Rises, they took that character. I like what they did with that character. They made that character make sense.
We're gonna have to wrap this up, this sequence, because we're gonna go. We're gonna hit a commercial break. But quickly speaking,
it's always important to wrap it up, kids.
Even when it comes to
shut up.
Even when it comes to subplots subplots like the kid and things, I think they did a great job. And you had these amazing action sequences, like jumping out of the airplane and all of that. So I think
Air Force One segment,
absolutely,
one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things about this film. The haters, I just don't quite get it. Your head disappeared, man.
Gone.
So we're gonna hit to a commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna have Captain America on Skype, the real guy. Come on back.
He learned how to Skype for us.
That's not true.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Girls, 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 all have something to say. Some say their emotions get in the way. Some like them big, some like them skinny. Oh, girls, please come this way. We must unite, this is the place. You don't have to show your face. Girls, I'll be a lady of today.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
Welcome back to Nerdgasm. We have an amazing guest with us.
Is that him?
We have Captain America on Skype. Cap, can you hear me, Cap?
I'm just, I got my workout bands.
You got your workout pants.
Hey, man. How are you? So you're wearing the Captain America suit that you had on in the Winter Soldier, pretty much.
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, this is my stealth suit.
So now you're the guy who the comic book was based on.
Yep.
How accurate to your life was the comic book?
Well, I mean, it really is all marketed. There's a lot of stuff that I did I can't talk about. Some of the stuff I had to sign release forms for them. And, I mean, being born in 1922 and living through, 1945 and getting frozen and all that kind of stuff. And, there were a couple missions that I went on that I still can't talk about, but the ones that we talked about with Red Skull, that's all pretty based on fact.
Right. And but the thing is, the movies came out. Did you like one? Did you have a favorite between the two installments?
I mean, the actress that they got to play my girlfriend in the first one, Peggy, she was great. I loved her, and I mean, it shows a great romance. As far as the action sequences, they are what they are, and with the new film that everyone's raving about, which is it's brand new. It's a new shiny toy. So yeah, I mean, they're just different. They're going to be different beasts altogether.
There's somebody in the chat room who's like, he's just not believing that you're Captain America. I gotta put them in their place. Listen.
I've never believed somebody's Captain America more in my life right now.
I don't know.
Okay, so now, look, it's the real Captain America. You don't believe me? Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why would you lie about that? So now, what is, look, he's got the shield. Where else is he going to pick up that shield?
Borders?
No. Real vibranium.
So,
I'm sorry, man.
So Captain America, how are the movies? I mean, you obviously know your Captain America stuff, Captain America. How does the comic book differ from what the movies portray? How good of an adaptation did they make?
I mean, depending on what you're going to go with the Marvel comic book world as opposed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're going to have to make different allowances.
Thank you. Right off the bat, I like this guy.
Dude, you just have to make different allowances. It's a whole different genre. It's a whole different game. It's a whole different audience that you're trying to reach as well with these stories. It's the same thing if you're going to take something and put it on stage. You're going to have a different adaptation on stage than you are in a film.
How do you feel that Chris Evans?
I love this man.
How do you feel Chris Evans does playing you?
Oh, I think he does a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think he does a great job. He
definitely does.
I think he has a good characterization down, and I did have to give him a couple extensive note sessions, but no, he's okay. He's all right. He's a good guy.
So now we're going to go into the portion of the interview where we reveal your actual identity.
What's Captain America?
So you're not actually Captain America. You were introduced to me by Superman. Look at it. There's Steve. No, you're Steve Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Rogers. There it is. Born in Brooklyn, July 4th, 1922.
So now, what got you into the Captain America thing? What suddenly made you say?
What wouldn't get him into it?
First movie got me into it, and I was really happy about it. And I just love making stuff. So I'm sitting there watching the movie with my wife one night, and I'm just like, I want to make that costume. So I did. So I made the first Avenger costume, and there's.
You made that a costume?
Yeah, I made that costume. It's in the other room actually right now. So.
Jeez.
Yeah. So there are pictures I have.
Did you make the shield too?
I did. Well, actually, it's a blank that I ordered from eBay from a guy on eBay.
Okay.
And he drew all the circles on for me, and then I etched the star myself and painted it.
Looks like it was right from the movie. Mike, I have to give my hats off to you, sir. Like you
Thanks a lot.
Look just like Captain America.
Yeah, it's fun, and I just actually finished this costume.
That's the new one, right? That's a fun fact about that. That's actually the Steve Rogers costume after
Yes.
Captain America was killed and he
Yes.
came back and
Yeah.
Bucky was Captain America. He had his own costume.
Yeah.
But that looks just like it. You look like you stole that from the set.
Hey, Captain America, somebody in the chat.
You guys can see the.
Yeah, we gotta see the full thing here.
Yeah, there you guys go.
Woo-hoo. Can't believe you made that, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. My wife is very unhappy.
Joe, you
about
just use your
looking at
afternoons
statement.
getting drunk.
But I gotta say, I think you let somebody down in the
American beer.
in the chat room. Timmy Pack,
Chat. I'm so sorry, chat room. I'm very, very sorry about
he
that.
says, "I'm crushed and embarrassed that I was fooled." He thought you were the real Captain America.
Well,
But
it's okay. I think we're all Captain America in our hearts, as long as.
Damn right.
so now you also do stuff with the USO.
I do actually.
You do stuff with the USO?
I do.
That's
It's
awesome.
really, really cool. So in that
He
way, I
fights
guess
Nazis.
I am kind of carrying on the legacy of Steve Rogers going into the first Avenger film, actually. It's really fun.
Tell me you do what they do in the first Captain America, and I'll be so happy. You punch Hitler. I'll be so happy.
Close. It's, everybody else that's bad nowadays. No, what it is I actually am a performer, and I get to sing and travel around the country for the USO, for the military and the troops. And, we have a group in Seoul, South Korea right now. We have people in Guam right now. So we were just on Jimmy Fallon the other night.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's great just to go and do something that really gives back to the troops and their families. So it's a lot of fun. But all the
God
places
bless you,
in that
sir, man.
first
That's a
movie,
great thing that you do. I just want you to know that.
Now, do you have is there going to be any events that are coming up that you're going to be at?
New York Comic Con. I'll be back at New York Comic Con this October.
I'll be at Comic Con. I don't have to look for you. You got a great costume.
Awesome.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, I'll be wearing it probably all 4 days as long as I can Febreze it well enough. So
Come on, you got to bring out the original, man.
Joe, make sure you bring Febreze when you see him.
I'll bring a case of
I don't know
Febreze.
if
Help a
you guys,
brother out, man.
That'll be my
I
gift
don't know.
for him.
Have you guys had any pictures up from the ones that I sent you earlier?
Yeah. The audience got to see some of the
You
the
made some
photographs.
kids' dreams come true, man. God bless. That's
did.
awesome.
It's actually, when you talk about the kids, it's one of the great things. I brought my suit down to Texas with me recently in December. There's a great thing that American Airlines does every year, and it's called Snowball Express, and it's for.
I know what Snowball Express is, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's for all these kids who've lost a parent in active military duty since 9/11.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they take all these kids and all the families free of charge, fly them down to Dallas, Texas for about 5 days from all over the world. And so, it's great. I mean, we would go and we would perform and sing, do our USO stuff. And then on my breaks, basically, anytime we were performing, I would go and I'd put cap on and walk around all the rooms for all the kids and high five and take pictures and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool. It's a lot of fun. So one of the kids,
sir, man, you are dedicated to a very good cause right now.
those kids are worth it. And all
Yes,
those fans.
basically.
Well, I want to thank you so much for Skyping in. You're the
Absolutely,
perfect,
guys.
you're the
Thanks for
perfect
having
You
guest.
definitely are Captain America. I challenge anybody to say otherwise, by the way.
Oh, thanks a lot,
God
guys.
bless.
Let's
Very
enjoy
good, sir.
watching the
So
show.
we'll have to have you back on when Captain America 3 comes out in 2016.
All right, sounds
Get me back on again.
Okay, so
Well, Avengers 2
We're gonna hit a
first.
commercial.
Yeah, there you
When we come back, we're gonna be reviewing the two Captain America movies, and Joe will be hosting that segment. We're swapping seats.
Wait, what
King
am I
Joe
doing?
is coming back. We're gonna be doing a
yell at me
commercial
again?
break. And thank you for tuning in. Come on back for our Captain America 3 review as we hit commercial. Thank you,
Thank
Captain
you, Captain
America.
America. Appreciate it.
Wait, we're reviewing Captain America 3? We're ahead of...
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hi, I'm Dave Campfield, host of Nerdgasm.
I'm Joe Winchell. Nobody likes me.
And I'm Peppercorn Montgomery.
Tune in every Wednesday night only on InRavio.com to hear the greatest nerd discussion of all time. It is Nerdgasmic.
It'll be the best nerdgasm you've ever had.
Girls, 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 all have something to say. Some say their emotions get in the way. Some like them big, some like them skinny. Oh, girls, who's come this way? We must unite, this is the place. You don't have to show your face. Girls, I'll be a lady of today. So say what you
No, I don't want to do it now. That was my thing, and Dave stole
Dave told
it.
me to wear this crown because he thought it'd be funny.
There was a
Apparently, I'm the
See,
king now.
the thing,
What a great picture!
Because you're the queen of King Archie's world.
The thing is
like Archie.
Peppercorn always wears a hat during these shows. Today he's just the shaved head thing. So it's saying, why don't you wear the?
You described my
King
head
hat?
as a thing.
Today it's just a shaved head.
Okay, so now we're into the Captain America
I'm
segment. of
really
the show.
excited to be here.
Okay, so now we're on to the Captain America segment of the show.
So we're on to the
Are
Captain
we?
America segment. After interviewing Captain America, by the way, my hat's off to the, what was his name again, Dave?
It's really odd.
Captain America.
His name is Steve Rogers.
Okay, no, what was...
Mike Mulligan.
Mike Mulligan, hats off to you. You do some really
Really?
great things for the troops and
That's a very
children
comic
of
book
anybody.
sounding name, Mike Mulligan.
It is, yeah. Mike Mulligan. So hats off to you, sir. Thank you very much for what you do. Now moving on to the actual Captain America. This movie came out, and I saw it the day it came out. I loved every second of it. Did you?
I didn't see it when it came out. I have a job. Oh, yes, I liked the movie too.
What did you think about when it came out?
I really like this one. It got a bad buzz around it, and still now I hear from a lot of people who are like, I didn't care for the original one. I loved this movie. It takes its time and stuff like this, but it really goes into the backstory. The World War II scenes are fantastic. Tommy Lee Jones has never delivered a bad
Howling
performance.
Commandos are in it.
Yeah, the Commandos.
Dave, what did you think of this movie?
I saw it the same day that I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes, so it's
There's your
sort
first
of...
mistake right there.
No, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I thought that was a great Hollywood film followed by a film that wasn't quite as at the same level. So it hurt my experience a little bit because
Wait, you thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes was better than Captain America?
Hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't see Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
You didn't see that?
No.
It's not too good.
What, are you kidding me? You're not talking about the Tim Burton one. We're
No,
not talking about
I'm
the
talking
Tim
about
Burton
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
I've
was
seen
like
enough Planet of the Apes movies.
Was the planet? Stop being a swinger, Joe. So, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. We have a Planet of the Apes episode coming up, which I look forward to because we're going to talk about this. It was the best film I've seen since the original. I loved it. Now, Captain America, I liked it. It was probably. You have to hear the whole statement.
No, I'm just shocked that you said Planet.
Dave's diatribe is brought to you by Psychedelic.
It was Captain America was probably the
what didn't you like
second
about it?
A lot. The second.
I think he's building to that.
I know he's building that, but I'm hosting the segment, so I'm trying to ask him questions and be like.
Captain America was probably the second worst comic book movie I've seen in the last 10 years.
Second worst comic book movie?
Next to
in the last 10 years.
Next to Punisher Warzone. It was better than Punisher Warzone. But that was amazing.
That movie was a treat. Punisher Warzone.
But
Bring your kids.
What's amazing about that is it's still a pretty good film.
Not by what you just said.
Now, okay, so my issues of it is that Joe Johnston directed The Rocketeer. I really like The Rocketeer, and they brought him back because he captured the 40s. He also October Sky. He did a really good job with characters, and I think what we had here was. One of his issues, and one of the issues I have with him as a director when he does period pieces, is that he has supporting actors not acting like people from the 40s, but people from giving bad performances from 40s movies.
Like who?
Almost every supporting character is doing like an imitation of a 1940s actor.
I highly disagree with that.
1940s. I wish I had like examples. I mean, it's not. The movie almost felt like it could have been directed from the director of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. The way that everything feels, the tone. I'm not crazy about it. I really like. There's a number of moments in the film I really like. Tommy Lee Jones just is incapable.
King is not pleased.
Tommy Lee Jones is just incapable of lounging through any performance. I really like the Stanley Tucci scenes. I even like Tommy Lee Jones and Toby Jones scenes. I thought that they were good, but the tone. I mean, it's a little too cheesy. It doesn't.
Right now, they're listing off a whole bunch of
America-
movies that are worse.
Yeah, right now, Green Lantern. Wait, hold on.
Green Lantern, Catwoman,
Man of Steel, Dark Knight Rises. We all love her.
Okay, Catwoman.
Captain America.
I haven't seen.
Who is that? Dick Pie? Who's that guy?
I haven't seen Catwoman, but
you shouldn't see Catwoman. Who's
Oh God, skip Catwoman.
I don't doubt that I would agree with you on Catwoman. The other ones I don't know because
I think you're putting Captain America too low on the totem pole.
I don't dislike the film. I do not dislike the film.
Yeah, but when you compare that movie to Punisher, and I'm not trying to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say it didn't capture me. It didn't capture me the
Silence,
same
my
way.
king.
Thank you, my king.
And part of it is because the character of Captain America has no levels. He's the all-American clean-cut guy, and he plays it well, but he has no levels. He's not an Iron Man. He's not as interesting of a character as even Superman. Because Superman is almost one note, but he's just more. There's more to him, and that's sort of.
Matt is returning with a stick.
Yeah.
It's a scepter.
So
that's a giant drumstick.
Don't encourage him to hit me.
I'm going to hit this with him.
No, Captain America got some mixed reactions when it came out. I mean, the Red Skull sort of looks like a red version of Jim Carrey's The Mask. And I mean, it's an interesting.
That's the way
character.
I often describe Hugo Weaving's work.
I'm talking about the visual, the effect. The score even by Alan Silvestri didn't, and Silvestri did a great job with the Avengers.
But the score here, I almost felt like it weighed it down. You know, it didn't give the excitement that I was hoping for. I liked the film. I thought it would have been great, and that's all I can say, really. And everybody tried. Everybody was talented, involved with it. It was not one of those films you're sitting at the edge of your seat. I just took it in. I just took it in for what it was.
I don't want to
I thought it was
after this.
okay. Okay, I mean, you could say, I mean, I didn't hate the Red Skull visual. I didn't.
Joe, let's just go. Clearly, it's not going to get any better from here.
Want to just talk about Captain America 2?
Oh, you guys, I'm sure.
There's no love left in the world of
I have to disagree
Nerdgasm.
with it on a lot of points
Okay.
because I don't believe that Steve Rogers, the character, didn't have a great character arc. I think he had an amazing character arc.
You're just filming the top of my head all that time. I was looking down at my notes. So, yeah, you were saying?
I don't believe that. I don't believe that he did. I thought he did have a good character arc. I thought it's, you know, all he wants to do is serve. I mean, what's more noble than that? What do you want? What else do you want from him?
No, he's not as dimensional as.
But he just wants one thing.
Well, there's a lot of things there. There's one, he's a much younger character than a Tony Stark. I mean, he's his 18-year-old kid, essentially. I mean, I don't know how many levels you want him to play. I mean, essentially, he's an 18-year-old kid who all he wants to do is do his part for the war effort against, you know, an unstoppable
During World
evil
War II,
force.
and this sounds weird, but it was a time when people enlisted and willfully enlisted, and and if you couldn't, you felt bad because you couldn't do your part.
Right.
I mean, if that doesn't speak levels to you, and he tried to, and in the movie they're like, he tried to enlist like something like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, you go to 7 different places.
Let me give you a very, very, very strange example. And you can think I'm nuts if you want, right?
Yes, we might.
Okay, John Cusack's taking on the role in Say Anything. He's a guy you like. He's a guy that you relate to. And there's a scene where he loses it. He throws this bottle, and the director didn't want him to do it. And then, so he does the scene, and the director says, I can't imagine any other way of him playing it because his character was so good, and he was a pretty pure guy, but he had that moment of humanity. And Captain America doesn't really have that much humanity to him, and as a result, he's not.
What do you mean doesn't have any humanity to him?
I mean, he's a good guy. He's a humane guy, but don't confuse being humane with humanity, like being.
So why did you think he didn't have any humanity?
He doesn't have he doesn't like have these. He's not human enough. I feel like for me to get more engaged with him. And I got the feeling that Chris Evans is probably it's a boring as an actor. I'd find this a very boring role to play. I bet you Chris Evans had a lot more fun playing Human Torch, which was not as good of a movie, but at least the character was more fun to play and more fun to watch than what he was able to do.
Go ahead.
It's a funny picture.
Yeah, so
I just you know what it is. I think the reason why the movie works for the character and why I think it's the truest interpretation of the character of Captain America and what he stands for and why he's been such an influence on. And I don't want to go on the whole American thing, but he's been just such an influence on. He's a constant love of the military to this day. Is because. They made the movie take place during a time, which I said before, where you were encouraged to enlist, you were encouraged to fight, and it was just the pattern of time. They made a perfect period piece for that because you didn't need any dimensions for it. All this scrawny kid wanted to do was do his part. And I didn't grow up in the 1930s. You didn't grow up. None of us did. You know, but I remember going into this movie and thinking, as long as they show sincerity in the character, sincerity that all he wants to do is do his part for his country, and just kind of falls into this, and that's why he gets chosen for the Super Soldier Serum, is because he above anybody else. And yes, it's a little romanticized, obviously, but like. All he wants to do is, and he says it, and it's this beautiful moment in the movie where he says, "I don't like bullies, sir." He says, "Do you want to kill Nazis?" And he goes, "I don't like bullies." And he's like, he's supposed to be. It's Steve Rogers. He's supposed to be the clean. His name is Captain America.
I have no problem.
He's supposed to be the clean-cut American guy.
Superman is clearly the epitome of all, quote unquote, all that is good. But as a character,
as long as it's not directed by Zack Snyder.
Right. So, but I have. I find that
Let's
for
not
whatever
take that
reason,
one out of the
that
bag.
interpretation, and pretty much any interpretation of Superman, to be a much more intriguing character. I don't know why. I can't figure out why Captain America is not more intriguing to me. I'm guessing that there's.
But
more
that's
of
my
a
point. It's a
penalty.
period piece. That's what I'm point. I think it takes place in a time period where everything was very cut and dry. So you didn't have to have this. You were supposed to go in. You were supposed to enlist. You were supposed to serve your country. You were supposed to, fight the Nazi war power. That's what they portray in this movie. And I think a lot of people don't understand
I
that.
do think that's a simplification of the time period because human beings are always human beings. Now, that being said, I thought that Chris Evans did a great job as the 5 foot, however tall he's supposed to be, like 5'3".
5'7".
In terms of, he was
little
only
man.
supposed to be 5'7" in that?
He's 5'7".
The character, this little Steve Rogers,
He's 5'7".
They made him look like he was like 5 feet tall. But they did a
Five
great
people
job.
5'7" are small.
Like, making him like but I'm 5'8". I don't look like that. So they made it. They did a great job.
Somebody made a great point in the chat room. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But just quickly speaking, they did a great job with the effect of making him look small and thin and scrawny, and I think he played it very well. And to the point where my mother saw this film and she said, "Who was that other little guy they got to play the other Cap?"
No, the movie was shot very well and the CGI was very good, and they made you believe that Chris Evans, who is a specimen,
He's a hunk.
looked like this scrawny 18-year-old kid. But
Yes.
I just believe the movie, and I've said this before, this movie is the perfect rendition of a Captain America origin story. You know what I mean?
We're down to 10 minutes of show.
That's not true.
We have 14 minutes left to
There's
show.
14 minutes left. It's 11:16. What's that? I'm just gonna
Anyway,
go with
to get to the point.
it. My point is this: the movie is very Marvel, and I think a lot of people didn't like the movie because I saw this movie and I loved it, and I thought, wow, a lot of stuff is either going to go over people's heads or they're just not going to get it. That movie is ripped from the comic books.
Yeah,
more
that
so
one
than
that's-
any Marvel movie.
Here's a scene where I felt like Joe Johnston wasn't the best choice of director for this, and here's one example. I didn't feel like he used the full opportunity of what the medium presented for him. There's a scene where Captain America has to go out on stage and sell his case. He's now just a performer. He's not a soldier. And he says, "I can't believe I'm doing this." And he goes out on stage and he's just among showgirls. Where I thought that the best way to do that scene, a better way to do that scene, was you don't know where he's going to stand out. You just hear him saying, "I can't believe I have to do this." And you see him in the middle of the stage, camera pans back, and then you reveal he's on stage, and you realize he's being used as a performer rather than an entertainer.
Rather than a soldier, because he was both an entertainer and performer.
Well, rather than being utilized for his
A bit
skills,
redundant, entertainer
he's
and
being
performer.
done on stage. And I just feel like Johnson at times was going through the motions as a director. Maybe his heart wasn't as into it because I think that there was a lot more that he could have brought to the table as a director. And to me, I just feel like everything, so much about the film feels a little muted, a little restrained, and I felt that less so with Winter Soldier, which maybe we can segue into now.
Before I do that, I just want to say,
Segway.
I
Say that.
segue.
Not that. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was
We're
gonna
running
say-
out of show. I haven't
gonna
said
say
anything
that,
in this show. Everything sucks.
I was I was going to say that I believe that it's a very Marvel movie. I think that's the problem. Is that's the origin of Captain America, and there's no way to go about it other than that. And if people didn't
You can
like
tell the
it,
story many different ways. The same story many different ways, and that's the way
I
they chose
don't
it.
believe that for the time period that it would be any different than. I don't know who you're waving at, but I'm waving to him too.
The audience. I haven't talked
Hi,
about this
audience.
tonight.
I don't believe that for that character and the time period it takes place in, that there's any other way to tell that story but than what they did. Doesn't make anybody else wrong. It doesn't make me right. It's just Captain America, more so than any Marvel character, was a product of the times.
Right.
So they showed that pretty
Okay,
truly to me in
so-
the Captain America movie.
So Dip Pie, who clearly likes the film, a film could have all the explosions in the world and still feel like it's missing something. It doesn't have anything to do with the laser guns or the explosion.
Well,
It has-
before,
it has
I
a
believe
way
he
to
also
do-
talked about his relationship with Peggy.
I like that. I like that aspect of the film.
So anyway, so
It's
the
a huge
Winter
part of it.
Soldier.
Also, his relationship with Bucky Barnes. But Winter Soldier, what do you think of that movie, Tim?
I can talk now?
Yeah.
Yay! I have nothing to say. Winter Soldier was awesome. I saw it last night, and it was great, and I loved it. And it was perfectly set up by the first Captain America, the first Avenger, which was a great movie. Joe Johnson, you're awesome.
How great was it?
That awesome! And then they followed up with a sequel, which was even better.
Oh, so
and I had
good.
so much fun.
It was so
and it was awesome. And
they also
had lots of explosions.
The second movie, they were
funny
just like,
lines.
They were just like, here's everything you wanted from a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
we're just going to throw
clearly
it at
a
you.
lot of money for the fight.
Look at that right there. Yeah, that's a great picture.
I look great in that picture.
Do they get political, this political in the comics?
Oh,
yeah.
God, yeah.
Captain America is filled with that. This movie was actually a brilliant political thriller when it really...
Comics are very, very heavy politically.
Yeah, they really are.
Captain America more so than other ones?
No,
His
all
name
of them.
is
They're all
Captain
pretty-
America.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, it's
I mean,
Captain
I'm not
America.
saying he's more so than other ones, but
Yeah,
it's just
anytime,
his-
I mean, the S.H.I.E.L.D., anytime they're dealing with S.H.I.E.L.D. and all of that
because you're
stuff.
dealing with a government entity.
Yeah, they get heavy. And I mean, geez,
They get
Watchmen.
very heavy.
Do I have to use any other example for how comics get into the politics of things?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to DC when the Justice League dealing with Cadmus and all those other
Oh, yeah, they
government
always have that in there, you know
oh,
what I
they're
mean?
huge into it. The whole X-Men as a whole deals.
Yeah.
Comics are exceptionally political,
And that's
and,
what
it's a
I
great
really-
arena for preaching politics because no one pays attention to it.
But like, I felt
Until
the
now.
Winter Soldier was like a really great political thriller at its core.
Yes.
You know, and they took the character they took the character of Steve Rogers from Captain America and from the Avengers and built on it and made him better and they introduced the character of Winter Soldier, which was his best friend.
Right.
Now basically brainwashed. So you have that kind of thing to deal with. You know what I mean?
You know, you definitely get flashes. You know, people are mentioning, like in the chat room, 3 Days of the Condor, but it also has a little bit of a Manchurian Candidate, like 60s thriller, like even the
Slightly,
yes.
I'll give you the Manchurian Candidate, yeah, because of the brainwashing and the mind control type
But
thing.
you know, when you look at the end credits, it almost looks like you're watching an Otto Preminger movie, like that style of this style of credits. So they were shaping it after that. And I think that's very bold because most comic book movies don't take that approach. And it's very brave of them to go a little more sophisticated than average, with this type of movie. But you gotta give the. Were you familiar with these directors before this movie?
Yeah, why?
Oh, the Russo brothers?
Yeah, I mean, so you had heard of them?
I had heard of them. I hadn't seen anything. I'd heard of what they've done, but I hadn't. I mean, I saw what they did with Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and I was like, hats off. It's amazing. I mean, you brought a character that, honestly, I have to be honest, I never thought they could bring to film, the Falcon.
Yeah.
And they made that character work. I believed it. I believed it 100%. I'm like, I'll buy it. He's flying around with wings, and it's just like, they just kind of they brought it down to street level, and they were just like, here's the Falcon.
They're also great action directors because, unlike, say, Zack Snyder, you have a clearer sense of what's going on in the action scenes.
And that makes a huge difference.
It does. It makes a big difference. I agree.
I mean, that's the difference between, and the example is always brought up with the last 45 minutes of Man of Steel, where it's just like nonsense going on. It's a lot of action. It was so much action. It was like, I have no idea what the hell's going on in this movie. As opposed to like this movie and even the battle at the end of Avengers, which some people compare it to. I have a clear idea who's fighting, what's going on, where they're at in the battle, how things are going.
But they have such a clear-cut plan.
And although it's a lot of action and destruction, I mean, it's clear where the arc of the story
But here's the
is
funny
going.
thing, and I'm going to give you a little bit of credence right now. If you look at what they did in Winter Soldier, they had even their strategic plan. All the aircraft characters, they fell in the ocean, in the river.
Yes.
So, but it was intrigue, and it wasn't even about that. It was about
really
number one. They kind of built it up like
them crashing probably would have killed as many people.
But they kind of built it up like Steve Rogers going to confront his friend for the first time in over 95 years.
Right.
And it had a weight to it, and I thought Chris Evans, and I forgot to say this in the first one, Chris Evans is the best choice for that part. And if you don't believe it from the first Captain America, you will believe it in Winter Soldier. He plays this part masterfully. And you just believe that's Steve Rogers up there. You don't believe you're watching Chris Evans. You believe you're watching Steve Rogers. They do. Right. It's just a really great thing. Let me ask God bless. Thank you for doing that because I love comic books, and you made the character jump off the page.
Because I've seen this, this character in comics and in cartoons. Do you think they're doing the suit justice? Because, like, for me, I still feel like it's a step removed from what I would hope the suit to be.
What'd you want it to be?
I think the suit he uses in Avengers
is
closer to sort of the comic book one.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
that's why I like.
We had one of the pictures up before that was a good representation of like that comic book look. Yeah, I mean, I think because the one he wears in the beginning is this muted color scheme and stuff, and this.
In the first movie?
Yeah. No, in the beginning of this movie, when he's like infiltrating. Well, that's the traditional one.
Yeah, that's the Steve Rogers outfit, but it is very muted though. It's kind of it's.
But you know, he's infiltrating a boat in the middle of the night. You
It's
don't
like
want
a big star on his chest.
You don't want giant red colors. I mean,
By the way, hats off to for another great.
Unless it's a pleasure cruise around Manhattan, you don't want to blend that way.
Hats off for another great Stan Lee cameo in this one. This might be one of my favorite.
I love
cameos.
every Stan Lee cameo.
They kind of gave him the shaft. And
I just really believe this is the best Marvel film and not in a long time, but just the best Marvel film to date.
Okay, well, I liked it. I definitely thought it was a good film, but that might. I'm not going to go that far, but
I'm going to go that far because
it's a definite thumbs up.
I'm not saying it trumps anything, but I would put it up there with Iron Man 3. I'll put it up. I'll actually put this movie up there with the Avengers. Just from storytelling wise and the way they went about everything, it was very good. Not action oriented, it wasn't as big as the Avengers, but just on the plain storytelling side and how they cared about the characters so much. You could tell how much they cared about the character. They wanted it to work. They treated it very respectfully.
The chat room, it's the best since the Avengers.
It is the best since the Avengers.
And I loved Iron Man 3. I liked Thor 2, but this one was really a standout.
It was just such care for the character, and you really got to love that stuff.
Did you guys have any issue? I saw this when I was very tired, and in the first half, I don't want to say I was falling asleep, but I was definitely not into it as the second half. No, but did you guys feel that the first half was a little less involving?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
I think it's...
Not for me.
It built. I was never not engaged. I mean, I was right from... I mean, I was so excited to see it.
The beginning kind of hooked you right away.
The beginning. The trailers for Spider-Man and X-Men and all those. But the
trailers alone before
I was like a 6-year-old. I was a 6-year-old kid. People had to ask me to sit down.
There's a future past.
Yes. I was wearing my Captain America costume.
Yay.
So, but with I admire the fact that they could take their time to tell, because we live in such a fast-paced age of quick cuts and truncated characters.
And yet all movies seem so long.
And it did seem that they did take a 1970s pace to the whole first half of it.
You have 90 seconds.
I did slightly lose my interest, but ultimately they got me back.
With 60 seconds.
And I do think that they are the best. These guys are some of the best action directors I've seen.
10 seconds.
So 10 seconds.
Go see Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Thank you for
sum it up.
And remember, April 12th, Psychedelic Fires. It's been a great show.
I believe we summed it up with we felt Captain America was a worthy sequel. Go see
Just
it.
cut the
check it
camera.
out. I'd like to say something before I leave, because right now this is my show. I'd like to take time to thank my co-hosts, but I'd also like to take time to acknowledge the passing of the Ultimate Warrior from the WWE universe. Definitely a man who left a mark on his on the company, and all I can say is the Afterlife has probably one of the greatest tag teams in the world right now with Randy Savage and the Ultimate Warrior. So I cheers to them. He will be sorely missed. He had an impact on my childhood. So, God bless. I only breathe the air that smells of combat, as he once said so long ago.
Joe, the only thing that could have made your tribute more touching was if you had done it without the Burger King hat on.
Nope.
It's the way he wanted to go out.
It added to it.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, if you come back for next week, we're going to have a special episode on comedy fantasy, where we're going to focus on Men in Black series and Ghostbusters with special guest Paul Gay, writer of Liar Liar, another comedy fantasy.
Good night, everybody.
Look forward to seeing you next week.
This is Dave Campfield, Tim Peppercorn.
Nobody knows who I am.